Parkour, one of the main pillars of the Assassin's Creed franchise. It had its highs, its lows, and with most recent titles, its renaissance. Assassin's Creed Mirage was marketed as a love letter for the more old-school AC fans, much like myself. The game promised classic assassination missions, social stealth, and more linear storytelling, and to its credit, it did deliver all of those things. But what about parkour? The game runs in a more refined engine of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so by all accounts, the parkour should be abysmal. But the truth is far more complicated, because after 2 parkour updates, a free DLC, and a whole new map, the opinion on Mirage's parkour has completely changed, with some even considering it to be the best movement we have ever had in a decade. But how true is that? Just how good is Assassin's Creed Mirage's parkour? Let me put Basim into context to answer one question. Did this game really save parkour, or is this just another Mirage? Contrary to what most people think, in order to achieve great movement in Assassin's Creed, you only need 2 things: good level design and a parkour system that is both reliable and consistent. And I do not need to tell you which one Mirage had at launch. Baghdad is a dense, vibrant city built for parkour, with zip lines, parkour highways, poles and ropes all across the city. This alone makes the level design in Baghdad very good, amazing even. But here's the thing, while Baghdad is amazing, it's always amazing in the same exact way. This leads me to perhaps my only criticism with Baghdad: variation. In almost every district, you'll find the same corner swing, the same elevator, and the same 3-story buildings. And that's not to say there is no variation in Baghdad. If you get closer to the round city, you'll find more verticality, more puzzles, but deep down, I just wish there was more unclimbable walls, more risk, more consequences to my failures. But thankfully, this is only a local flaw, because Baghdad is not the only city in Mirage. People often forget about Anbar and AlUla. On one hand, Anbar is significantly more forgiving than Baghdad, with buildings being very short and claustrophobic, making the parkour feel more grounded and less dangerous. So much so that I actually struggled to find a height that could actually kill me in the city. But on the other hand, AlUla offers the complete opposite, with buildings that can actually reach 4 stories, not only increasing your risk of death, but also making so catch ledges actually matter. Overall, Baghdad, Anbar, and AlUla bring enough variety and contrast to show that Mirage's level design is really well done. But like I said before, good level design only gets you so far. What about Mirage's parkour system? To understand why Mirage's parkour is considered so divisive by the fanbase, we must first break down its evolution. Mirage's parkour can be divided into 3 eras: Parkour at launch, Parkour Update 1, and Parkour Update 2. Each of these updates brought back classic features and moves that made free running closer and closer to the beloved classic games. And aside from a few major inconsistencies, the updates made the parkour astronomically better. And to be fair, even at Mirage's release, parkour was already an improvement to Valhalla. However, parkour still felt slow, clunky, and incredibly inconsistent. And to add, the targeting system was a mess. Side and back ejects were basically non-existent, and worst of all, unless you were at the edge of a building, you physically could not jump. In practice, this means that players were denied any chance at movement expression whatsoever. Instead, you're left with a city that had so much wasted potential, begging you to use advanced parkour mechanics that simply did not exist. But soon, that was all about to change. Only 2 months after the release of Mirage, Ubisoft Bordeaux did the impossible. They listened to the community. With the help of a few PC modders, Ubisoft made the first ever parkour update in Assassin's Creed history. The patch included some nice quality of life improvements, like slightly increasing Basim's speed on parkour highways, along with faster and further swings. But the real deal here is the addition of back and side ejects. For the first time since Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you could actually gain height and speed by using wall ejects. This change alone already made Mirage's parkour significantly faster and that much closer to the classics. Ejects are a game changer. They are extremely powerful and satisfying to pull off. But notice that I did not say ejects were consistent, and that's because they weren't. And there are a few reasons for that. 1, even after the update, the targeting system is simply not good enough. And 2, and more importantly, the parkour button and the eject button were the exact same. Because of this, there's every chance Basim will do a dyno instead of ejecting, even with proper button discipline. And things were no better for the actual feel of parkour. By all accounts, it still felt clunky, sticky, and inconsistent, and it would take just under 2 years for Mirage to finally fix all of these problems, at least for the most part. With the release of the Valley of Memory DLC, also came the second parkour update, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat this, Ubisoft Bordeaux cooked. People do not understand how much this update makes the parkour of this game so much better. First and foremost, they added a modern control scheme which moves the parkour button to the right trigger, just like in the Kenway games. At first, this really doesn't sound like a big deal. That is, until you realize that the parkour and the eject button are now separate. This means that if you want Basim to eject, all you have to do is press the eject button. And most of the time, Basim will now eject exactly where you want him to. Well, that is, most of the time. Because, let me show you something. This is the normal range of a side eject in Assassin's Creed Mirage. Having that in mind, how do you explain this? Or this? Or this? Let me make myself clear. There's no question that ejects are incredibly powerful in this game, but as you saw from the clips, they are also unpredictable. Even the best players in the world cannot predict where Basim is going to eject every time. To get around this, Ubisoft also added a heavily requested feature, free-form ejects. What this feature does is allow Basim to eject whenever he wants, even to his death. And there are times free-form ejects are genuinely useful, but unfortunately they work only as a band-aid and not a complete fix. Ejects are almost perfect in this game, but I'm afraid almost just isn't good enough. But let me show you something that is perfect, the manual jump. For the first time in 11 years, we were finally given the ability to jump. And I don't mean a contextual jump, I mean jumping anywhere, anytime. The amount of freedom of expression this gives the player is simply unbelievable, so much so that with enough practice, if you time your jumps right, any clunkiness that existed in this parkour system is basically gone. But is it as smooth as a game like Assassin's Creed 2? Well, I think that's still debatable, but what's not debatable is the fact that the manual jump does so much more than just making the parkour feel smoother. Remember that breathtaking swing dive from Assassin's Creed Unity, where Arno would jump from a ridiculous distance into a swing? Well, I'm very happy to report that it's not only back, but now it's consistent. By triggering a manual jump at the right angle just before approaching a ledge, Basim will swing dive every time. With enough practice and button discipline, you can virtually do this anywhere, because just like in Unity, the range is absolutely ridiculous. But that's not the only move Mirage brought back from Unity. If you're on a parkour highway and you see a platform or a pole that is just out of reach for a foot landing, what you can do now is wall bounce by manually jumping into a wall and immediately side ejecting. This allows you to keep your momentum even if an object is way above you. The more you look at it, the more you realize that the time where a manual jump is not useful will never come. But the question is, was this enough to actually save parkour? So is this it? Are we back? Well, sort of. When the system works, when you eject to where you want to, when you complete a perfect parkour run, the answer is yes. This is literally the classic parkour in a modern engine. But when the system doesn't work, when you fail a catch ledge because Basim decided to bounce off a wall, the answer is sadly no. We are so unbelievably close to the classic parkour system. Every piece of the puzzle is in this game. All we need is consistency. And that's the tragedy of Mirage's parkour. It's not missing features, it's not lacking ambition, it's not even poorly designed. The foundation is there, the moves are there, the level design, it's all there. But the execution, the reliability, this is the only thing separating Mirage from the classics.